AITA for not telling a vegan mom that the candy she stole from my kids and was eating, wasn't vegan. This happened on Halloween and the day following. My neighbor, 38F, super vegan, has 2 kids. I, 26F, also have 2 kids. My apartment complex didn't do traditional trick-or-treating on Halloween. Residents were advised to set out pre-packaged individual candy bags on their patios/front door areas if they wanted to participate, but the traditional knock-on-door, physically hand strangers candy was not permitted. So, Halloween comes and the kids are all dressed up and each building has a scheduled time where the kids go door to door. I ended up having to work late, so my neighbor offered to walk my kids around with hers at our building's scheduled time. About 45 minutes later my kids came home with a small bucket of candy, 6 little goodie bags each from individual apartments that participated. Everything was fine, and my kids didn't say anything weird had happened. They were just excited to eat candy once they got home, lol. Next day I took my kids to the park directly across from our apartment complex. My neighbor was there with her kids as well. The kids were playing and she took out one of those individual goodie bags with candy in it from her purse and started to loudly rummage in it. She ate several pieces of candy and my daughter eventually noticed, ran up and asked if she could have a piece, and my neighbor responded, "Nope, this is my tax candy, remember that this was my reward for taking you trick-or-treating last night." I was a little weirded out by that statement and asked what she meant. She said that since she is the one who had to take the kids out, she took 5 bags from each of my kids as a tax. Her son then chimes in and said, "You only took 2 bags from us." She responded with, "But I'm your mom, I was doing up a favor so they get a higher candy tax." I was thinking about how to respond when I noticed that she was holding a Starburst candy and decided to just smile and nod and go back to watching my kids. I let her continue to finish off the bag of candy and then said, "Hey, aren't you vegan? You know a lot of those candies are made with animal products, right?" I explained what gelatin was and how a lot of those candies are made with it. She was horrified, Googles it and then told her kids that they were leaving. She said something about how she was going to be sick and stormed off. Now she's giving me dirty looks every time we see her and won't let her kids play if she shows up at the park and we are there. My husband thinks I'm an asshole cause I should have either not said anything about the gelatin, or said something right away when I noticed. I don't think it's my job to tell a vegan what is and isn't vegan though, and she deserved it for stealing candy from little kids. Edit number 1. When we got home from the park after the gelatin incident, I sat my kids down and asked why they didn't tell me that the neighbor took half of their candy. My oldest kid is 6 and my youngest kid is 4. 6-year-old explained that as they went door to door during their designated trick-or-treating time, she would have my 4-year-old grab 2 bags instead of 1 from each apartment for the majority of them. She explained it to my kids that they were grabbing extra bags for her to be handed over at the end as taxation. So either freaking way she was directly taking candy from my kids or taking candy from other kids through mine. As for the authenticity of her veganism, I may have exaggerated when I said super vegan when I first posted this. She claims to be vegan and is very in people's faces about the benefits etc. It's 100% about the health side. She brags about veganism curing cancer, diabetes, even some mental health issues. I have never once heard her talk about the benefits for animals. She also sells herbal tea products, customized gym clothing etc. So she totes a pretty big vegan lifestyle, if that makes sense. Now for the gelatin. She knows what gelatin is, she knows what it's made out of. She knows that there are obvious things that she can't eat. But she had no idea that a lot of candy specifically had gelatin apparently. When I told her that they had gelatin in it, she knew what gelatin was but googled the candies to see if I was correct. I think she is either really dumb or she eats non-vegan stuff all the time when no one's watching and had to pretend to be horrified about it at this point, cause a lot of you guys have pointed out that you literally can't be vegan and not know these things. I'm not vegan, I'm not even freaking vegetarian, and I know these things. About the Starbursts, a lot of you have said that Starburst are vegan friendly. However, Starburst in the USA are made with animal gelatin. In the UK they are vegan though. Smile. Edit number 2. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the insight on this. and if it weren't for you all commenting and me being able to show my husband, he probably wouldn't have told me what was actually wrong. Turns out he was calling me an asshole cause she's been parking in his assigned parking spot and giving him dirty looks since this happened. I had no idea because I work from home and haven't used the car in days. He finally told me why he was so grumpy about what I did. He hates confrontation and was misplacing his anger at me. I'm gonna talk to her about it first, then management if it doesn't stop. I also bought several bags of candy that our entire family has been snacking on since lol. Is this seriously just a justice bonus up now? Not only is that lady a terrible adult, stealing children's Halloween candy, how low can you go? Bitch, she's also a terrible vegan. Seriously, what kind of vegan doesn't know not to eat gelatin? NTA, ignoring the fact that this candy tax is just a sugar-coated way of thieving candy from children, it's not your responsibility to inform someone if something is vegan or not. If this mom didn't know how gelatin is made, that's her issue and not yours. NTA, gelatin is like the first thing you figure out isn't vegan anyways, and I say this as someone who did try veganism. It takes zero effort to Google that and also zero effort to not be a dick to kids. AITA for not trying to reunite my daughters. I have two daughters, Kay, 26, and Layla, 22. As a single mum I tried my best for both of them. But Layla, while I love her, makes it very hard to do so at times. She's always been attention-seeking, stubborn, and jealous. We did family therapy and individual therapy for years after her dad passed away when she was 9, but something snapped in her. AITA part, when Kay was 22, Layla 18 at the time, she had a boyfriend Mick, 20, he seemed nice. Unfortunately Layla needed all of his attention. It was constant. He'd be over at our house on couch watching a movie with Kay and Layla had to be right there next to him. When they went out Layla chucked a fit if they didn't invite her. She messaged him constantly. She even went to his soccer games, skipping work at her job, when she hadn't seen him in a while. Sending him pictures of herself, crying when I would ask her to get out Kay's bedroom when they wanted to be alone. I tried to put my foot down when Kay complained. I had a talk with Layla about boundaries and managing jealousy and how maybe we should got back to therapy. She didn't want to listen and she was cold. She started getting more secretive and Mick started withdrawing. It was then I walked in on them on the couch when I got home from work. I'll be real, I was not calm. I screamed, the whole neighborhood could probably hear. I banned him from the house. I threw her clothes at her and told her to get to her room. I called Kay and asked her to come home. Mick must have gotten to her before me. She came home a mess. It was one of the worst days on my life after losing my husband. Honestly, my daughter was devastated and it was my other daughter that did it. Once Kay calmed down she asked me to take her to my mom's house and I did. When I got back I went to talk to Layla. She was sobbing, saying I ruined everything. That I hated her, that I was always ruining her life, that they were meant to be together. I held her despite wanting to scream some sense into her. When the dust settled we talked. She fought any sort of blame, accusing her sister of abusing Mick, of Kay keeping them apart. As gently as possible I told her that while Mick is awful, what she did is also terrible. She needed to apologize. She refused. That's not even the half of it, but the relationship has been strained for the past few years. Kay has moved on and I am close with Kay and his husband. I'm careful to never talk about Layla and to be respectful of Kay's boundaries. Layla, however, begs for information about Kay, wants me to tell her everything, whines about how it was in the past, how she needs to get over it. I'm kinda. I just told her, what do you expect? You never apologized. What you did was wrong. I love you but I'm not the one to rebuild this relationship anymore. You're not kids. She didn't like that, and while I feel like I'm respecting Kay's boundaries, even my mom says I need to try harder to reunite them. So AITA, edit, for clarification on a few things, Kay asked to go her grandmother's after what happened. She couldn't be in the same house as her sister. I couldn't move Layla because she was locked up in her room. So Kay decided she needed to leave. This was in no way me dropping her off to comfort Layla. I got home at 1 PM to find them, and after Kay had come home soon after and I'd calmed her down, she asked to spend some time at grandma's and I said yes. I was with her till 2 AM the next morning till she fell asleep between my mother and I. I left to go home. I checked on Layla, and I know I might be but she is my child too. She, despite getting herself into this mess, was incredibly distressed. Maybe I was too gentle with her, maybe I should have yelled or gotten more angry. But in hindsight I don't regret the decision to be there for both my daughters. When I looked at Kay I saw heartbreak and betrayal, and when I saw Layla I saw a very scared, broken person. Kay made the decision to stay at her grandmother's. She did so for a little while, then I helped her move to her own place. I visited almost every day. I went for dinners at her house. We had sleepovers. I went to doctor's appointments with her. We started doing pottery together. I tried really hard to be good for her. Layla has not been out of therapy for more than a few months since she was 10. Her diagnosis has always been unclear, but she does suffer from OCD, PTSD from her father's passing, and anger issues from when I last had anything to do with her therapy. Obviously she's an adult. If she's learnt any more about her condition, she hasn't shared it. Layla moved out just before she turned 20. The year and a bit after what happened was very hard. Between trying to hold her accountable and not ruin what I had with Kay, it was difficult. And finally, I never claimed to be perfect. I suffered a lot with postnatal depression after both my girls, and while when Layla was younger she did show signs of being harsh and unkind at times, I was working 2 jobs with a terminally ill husband. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention to her. Maybe therapy should have started sooner. I feel like there's so much I could do better, and I wish I'd had their dad with me to help us. But it was just me and I did what felt right at the time. All in all, this has felt extremely cathartic, and I wanna say thank you to everyone who cared to read and comment. I think it's time I talked to someone myself. You have all been wonderful. NTA, you're not responsible for their relationship. If you do try to reunite them, it will more than likely be a blowout between all 3 of your relationships. A very long time ago, my sister decided to go no contact with my mom when she was 13, moved in with my dad, and anytime I've tried to reconnect them, it just breeds resentment within my sister and gets my mom's hopes up. And overall it's just an unhealthy and controlling thing for me to interfere. Ultimately, they're both adults and have made their own beds to sleep in. I don't blame either of them. Trust me from my own experience, trying to reunite them will only do more damage. Your youngest daughter will need to have some realizations/growth on her own, and your oldest daughter deserves a peaceful existence until then. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. I empathize with how hard it can be to have a broken family and to be the only connection between all of them. The best thing you can do is accept it for what it is and hold firm with your boundaries. Edit, you're a really attentive and caring mom for being concerned about this at all. You did a good job getting her therapy and for continuing to do your best. There's a reason why your oldest still has you involved with her life. I'm sure she really appreciates how much you have valued her boundaries. NTA. Layla's in denial. She needs more help than you, even as her mother, can give her. Kudos to you for trying so hard to be there for both of them. Please remember to be kind to yourself, too. AITA for airing family laundry and leaving my dad without help. I'm 17F and I live with my single dad, my brother Dave, 15, other brother Josh, 13, baby brother Sam, 10, and our paternal cousin Ben, 16. Our mom died almost 6 years ago. Things were hard and my dad relied on me a lot to help care for my brothers while he worked. I didn't complain and just helped watch and cook for them when dad wasn't home. And even when he was, because he said he worked all day and needed a break. I put up with it cause Dave helped a lot as he got older. Issues cropped up a couple years ago when we had to take in Ben. His dad left and his mom started drinking to the point where she was unable to care for him. CPS almost got involved and to avoid that he came to stay with us. I don't like Ben, he's a creepy little perv that would always comment on my clothes, how short/tight they were or WE, and he always busted into my room without knocking. No bedrooms have locks. socks. I once even caught him in my room going through my underwear drawer, and when I yelled at him he said he was just looking for some socks. He had 3 other guys who he could borrow socks from. Well, the other day I had run out to the shop and Dave texted me. It was a video. It was out of focus at first, but I froze when it cleared up enough for me to see it was of Ben, in my bedroom and going through my hamper. He was smelling the crotch of one of my dirty pairs of panties, then he just stuffed it in his pocket. That's when the video cut off. I was mortified and immediately came home and called my dad and told him what happened and even sent him the video. He just told me he'd talk once he got off work. Well, I stayed in my room and refused to talk to Ben. But long story short, Dad came home and tried to rug sweep everything. Told me teen boys do weird things sometimes, but he talked to him and it wouldn't happen again and we should all forgive and forget. I couldn't believe it and lost my temper and said this was bullshit. Ben was being a freak and smelling my dirty panties and going in my room again. I'm supposed to just shrug and forgive and forget? Dad snapped at me to watch my mouth and I just couldn't see myself sleeping there, so I stormed off to my room and called my maternal aunt/uncle. I told aunt everything and she was horrified and said she was coming to get me to stay with her. I packed a bunch of my stuff and Dave helped me take a couple bags and boxes outside. Dad was in his room and didn't notice I was gone till the next day. But my aunt told everyone on my mom's side what he did and now he's getting a lot of shit from family for it. He's mad at me for airing family laundry to everyone and making him look like a bad dad. But it feels like he didn't care. Ben was being gross towards me. Like he didn't care. Am I overreacting? I know teen boys are gross sometimes, but still. Could I have just done something different? Maybe asked to stay with my aunt and not said why? AITA. Edit. I've been getting lots of comments of people thinking Ben was the one to record himself and send it to me. He didn't. Dave, my brother, caught Ben in my room and recorded him on the sly thinking he was gonna catch him stealing or something. Not full on creeping that weirdly. Dave said he planned to send the vid to our dad as proof Ben was stealing. Dave is sure Ben stole some stuff from him and our other bro Josh, but when he caught Ben smelling my underwear he sent the vid to me instead. Also, I'm staying with my aunt indefinitely until my dad either kicks Ben out or really punishes/reprimands him and installs both a knob lock and padlock on my bedroom door.